Welcome back, everybody, to special edition of Brace for Impact, the Katowice preview show. We've got a special guest, Parks alongside me on the far left-hand side and in the middle from the great land of Australia, Connie. Welcome, Connie. Hello, Connie. Yes.
What I
Longer,
say, g'day.
longer name
What
needed.
do you say? Good day. We're off to a great start.
G'day. G'day,
Good
mate.
eye.
It is day over there. It's
Yeah,
night
Yeah,
over
it
here.
is
I have to have the
actually.
lamp on, and she's got all this wonderful natural light. Like, look at that.
Actually,
there
it's
is
coming from my
snow.
monitor. It's actually not too sunny today. It's just rained a little bit. It's like a bit sun, rain kind of thing. So I don't know. It's chilling right now, though.
You want to know how bad the winter's been here? I don't know.
I don't
Parks, I
want
don't
to
think
talk
it's
about
been as
this.
bad here. But
Oh, we
like
did talk about
it
winter.
hasn't been like cold,
Yes, it
like
has.
right, like like it's been a little bit cold, but it hasn't been
It has
like
been
super,
cold.
super, super cold. Well, yeah, but you're Canadian; it's always cold. But
It's negative 28.
That's true.
It's negative 28.
but
Oh,
we had this. So we had the sun for the last hour today, like peek out amongst the clouds. It's the first time we saw the sun in like 8 days. It's been that much cloud. It's awful. Anyway, weather forecast with Benny because he's old and he talks about the weather. But moving on, like, we're here to talk about Katowice. That's the main thing we're here to talk about, right?
I wonder what the
And
weather is over Katowice right now.
I
God
saw
damn
some
it.
snow.
Why'd you slide right back into the weather?
Back
Pain
on track.
and suffering. Negative 45 in Montreal. Anyways.
Yes, Katowice.
Connie.
Before we derail the whole thing.
Wait, that's
Katowice.
45C, right?
Yeah.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
What?
Welcome to Wind Chill, baby.
You know, Australians, as an Australian, I find like 18 degrees, or like more like 16-ish is like cold. Like
And he's in the
16.
sin bin. Anyways.
Yes. Anyways, Katowice for the third time's the charm. We do have a big land this weekend. It is a huge land. It's the first of the 3 big lands of the year. It's in the very special venue, Katowice. I mean, just the heart and soul of Counter-Strike outside of maybe the cathedral in Cologne, right?
Yep.
It's one of the 2 big. I always look at it like the 2 big cathedrals of Counter-Strike, Katowice and Cologne. And we got a pretty packed schedule. I mean, let's take a look at the groups. I guess we could start there. Group A, Enigma Galaxy, HSG, B4 Esports, and Saints. And then, of course, Group B, Furia, CLG Red, Navi Javelins, and Nine Pandas Fearless. So let's start with Group A. Let's start with the first of the 2. They are actually going to kick off play on Friday, and it's going to be Enigma Galaxy versus Saints. And then of course B4 will play HSG. But you're looking at this group, right? And
Mhm.
Connie, I'll start with you. I actually think this is going to be a little bit of the tougher 2 groups because I think if you look at Group B, there might be 2 teams you'd favor, and then the third one has a chance. I mean, obviously Group A, I favor one. There's one team I think dominant above the rest, but
Yeah.
I would say B4 HSG. I can't separate them.
You know, I can't either, but I do think Group B is the more stacked group, like overall, given the 8 teams. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to rag on NA here. We don't expect them to get out of groups here. Like they qualified through the qualifier, and they do deserve to be there. But I don't think they're gonna do any damage against the other 3 teams in their group.
Yes, that's Saints you're talking about in this one?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. That's the
Yeah.
only other NA team. Our other NA team with a couple of imports is CLG Red, obviously, but they're in Group B.
Are you going to be like Ryan from Dust 2, where now you just claim CLG to be the Aussie team now that there's an Aussie on it?
Powered by an Aussie. There you go.
What is it, a sponsorship?
Yeah.
Clean energy,
clean energy from the French woman, powered by the Aussie.
Yeah, exactly.
How about baguettes and kangaroos? There you go.
No, it's. I think you're kind of hitting it on the nail on the head there. Saints coming into this one, they actually have a sub coming in, and that is Kiki from Norway, because Schraft couldn't get a visa in time to get to Katowice. So
rough.
that is rough. That is really rough. Schraft was, I believe, their the new rifler on the block after kind of going through a few roster iterations, and she was performing quite well for them. Now you're not getting any slouch in Kiki. Kiki is a very good player. I mean, she's a part of the Face It's Gucci,
Gucci Gaming Academy. Or
yeah, the fancy thing that the Europeans have because NA wasn't
Oh.
fancy enough for it, I guess.
Well, I thought Miss Harvey was part of that too, actually.
It's weird, man. It's you could talk to Koi about this for like an hour. There's so much stuff
Yeah.
going on with that. It's not in my purview at this point. What is in my
Though,
purview?
my question.
Oh.
Who do you think is going to come out on top? Because we know Dingba Galaxy is probably most likely going to qualify.
Yeah.
They're the heavy favorites for this event, obviously.
Mhm.
And then between HSG and B4, who are you guys picking of those two?
Ooh. There's the big question for Benny.
Don't make me pick.
No, you have to pick. The
These
question
are two
has
of
been
my.
asked.
I know.
You
He's
must
tearing
pick.
his heart right now.
These are
of
two of
course.
my favorite players, right?
Yeah.
Ramona and then Junger, right? Like, just I love both of these players. I think, and B4, like to me, I look at B4 and I know it's been a few months. I know it's been 2 months, but I look at the trajectory and I'm like, man, they beat the Furious side in a best of 3 right before the end of the new year, right? So I'm like, and that was a big win. Poppins looks incredible in that series as well. Like, she looks like she's going to be the next big player, and so you have that. But then I'm looking at HSG, and they played, I think, the first Cash Cup of the year, and they looked as clinical as they did in Sweden in that first Cash Cup. Really measured, really just well timed, playing off each other so well. It's tough. It's tough. So I would love either team. I am gonna pick with my heart and not my head though, and I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
say HSG. I'm gonna say
Oh,
HSG
damn.
is gonna come out. But
That's
I
fair.
really think these two teams are almost inseparable. I think when we do get this matchup, it's a shame we get a
Yeah.
best of 1 to start, because I think if they play each other in a best of 3, it
Yeah.
would be absolutely nuts.
You got to be on point for a best of one, like firing straight from the start. Like for example, if you lose both pistols, that's 4 rounds
Oof.
down. For example, especially if
Yeah,
you don't convert if they convert the anti-eco, obviously.
Yeah.
and
How
I
about
wouldn't
you,
be
Park?
surprised, by the way, just real quick, Liz, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that B4 has the edge in that best of 1,
Yeah.
and then you
Hmm.
see HSG make that lower bracket run.
It's so funny that you mentioned if you're picking with your head or your heart, because I thought we were actually going to be on the same lines in this one.
Oh,
Especially because he touted that B4 was probably the third best team in the world aside from CLG. Like CLG Red didn't really have the results that B4 did in terms of
Don't do
domestic,
this to
and
me.
yeah, so I was gonna pick B4 Esports, and I am gonna pick B4 Esports. I think this is a
damn.
really good opportunity for a player like Poppins, like Junger, like Goddess, players that were touted as potentially, some of them were top 20, I believe, throughout the various iterations. And I mean, Poppins is an up and comer that's strongly been watched over. I think there was an article that came out where a guy he interviewed a bunch of both talent and top players and said, "Hey, who is the player to keep an eye on?" Paula actually was one of those players that I believe Goose mentioned as an up and comer in
Yeah.
NA.
Yeah.
But then as well, Poppins I believe was in that listing, and I don't know. I look at B4 and I go, they've had more reps overall in terms of top competition in Brazil, and they've also, while HSG have been to a more recent LAN because they went to the season 2 finals. I don't think, yeah, it was MIBR instead of B4. If I'm correct.
Correct. You
Yeah,
are
so
correct.
so B4 haven't been into an international LAN recently, but at the same time, I see them winning at least the first match, and then from there, because they have a little bit of an easier route, even if and when they lose to Nigma, they still have that lower finals ahead of them, and they can just win that out. And I think they'll be fine over a best of 3. I do think it's close, though. I agree with Benny on that. Like, these are two teams that I look at in terms of skill level, even across different areas of the world. I think they're pretty on par with them, and it's going to be an interesting Group A for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely hard to pick the winner of the two. There are obviously like advantages and like cons of both teams, I think. Again, a good point for B4 is their trajectory. Like last year, their online season for Impact, the most recent one, I think, they went like they didn't drop a series, I believe, right? They went, was it 6-0, I think?
Yeah, I think they dropped 1 map to like MIBR, but they didn't drop a series. They were 6
A
and 0.
series, yeah. Exactly. And then at the end of the year, they beat Furia as well in their local comp, which is GC Femin. I don't know
Masters
how to say it.
Feminina 6, yeah.
Feminina, yeah, exactly. Which although it is online, it's still like a huge feat, right? And I
Yeah.
think their last international appearance at the event, I feel like they fell short, but think about it this way: that was their first LAN, right? And then the second time you go, I think they're more hungry and they're more prepared for, like, playing on LAN. It's like, who remembers their first LAN? I remember my first LAN. I was playing on 64 tick. I didn't have the right settings, set up, for example. And a big part
That's
of going to
awesome.
these LANs is knowing how to set up, solving those tech issues,
Yeah.
and making sure that, you warm up. You get that extra, 5 to 10 minutes warm up, because your setup's so quick because you've done it before. And I think Nigma Galaxy is probably like an example of that, right? They come into LAN super cool. They know what they're doing. Another day in the office for them, right?
Yeah, it's the experience level they've had now because they've been to so many of these lands, and also how long they were together before Impact came along.
Exactly.
There's an understanding among them, like, oh yeah, this is whatever, we're here to play, we're here to win. We know what we need to do. Also a comfortability point, like if it's a team's first LAN, you're not used to it not being your setup. You're not used to, you're used to your corner desk or whatever. You're used to having your keyboard in a certain angle. You're not used to people right beside you on the other side. Maybe you're used to 2 monitors instead of 1, so you can have like music or something on the other. It's different stuff comes through, kind of thing. And it's a big part of a LAN scenario. Is like there's a whole bunch of other external things that you now have to worry about, where when you're at home, you've solved all those external things over months and years of just having it in the same spot.
Exactly. And also the whole idea of like pre-game preparation, right? We look at, professional, like traditional, I say traditional sporting athletes, because we're talking about esports here, but they have a routine, right? Like, so before the actual game, they might listen to music, they might do some visualizing, for example. So the whole psychology thing comes into play here.
I think it's
So
sorry, real quick. I just
yeah,
gonna say I think it's um one of the most important things to have is perseverance as well. And it's like this is a team that you go back almost 3 years now, but you go back to those 2020 online DreamHack tournaments, and it's like they were I think Originum and then Team XSET, right? And it's like the legendary team with like Giuliano, Michaela, Petra, all that stuff. But you look at it, and it's like those games were so close. I remember they lost that one really close game on Train where they almost beat XSET, and it's like they were always second best to XSET. They were getting very frustrated. I remember Vilken been like, "We're trying everything we can, and we just can't seem to like beat this team for some reason. Like they're just the bogey team." And here we are 2 years later, and they're the ones that everybody's getting frustrated about. They're just nobody can find a way to beat this team. So it's definitely something that I think is given Nigma the edge that they have. Like it's in such a dominant fashion that they've had it. So I think we're going to see more of that on display, at least from this group. But yeah, I think they've at least got to be the group favorites. And I'm with Connie. I'm with you when you start. I think Saints they're going to look
It's a
if they can
learning
get like 10
opportunity.
rounds on a map, be like, or even take a map, but like that would be an achievement.
If they can get
yeah.
more than 13 rounds over
If
3
they can get,
maps,
yeah, I was gonna say exactly.
they're doing better than EG. That's the bar.
I don't even think they got 13. Did they? Was
They
it
got
13 rounds?
13 rounds over 3 maps. No, that is not going to ever be lived down. We will remember this. That's
know.
the bar.
That's the thing, though. They don't have any pressure to perform. Like,
No.
everyone's expecting them to bottom out in the group, right?
Ex-
So just go out there, ladies, and just have
fun.
fun, honestly.
It's an
take this as
international
an
trip.
experience.
Yeah, international
exactly.
trip. Have fun. Meet some people. Like, they're already playing with a stand-in from Norway. There's some kind of connection there that, like, we'll never know unless we talk. Like, we'll have to talk to them and be like, how did Kiki come up as a player you're going to bring? And, like, where did this happen? Like...
I had this image of my head of they just going, "Hey yo," and then
Yeah.
Kiki was the first one to respond.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why.
Just a general announcement that like, guys, if you're gonna be in Kato already, why don't you come play with us? You don't. I can't expect them to have had much time to practice with Kiki, both because of time
issues.
zones and the ping issues. I mean, we saw Kaode play for CLG Red in Maine from France for a while.
Yeah.
And like it was all right, but
she played well. She played
played
really well, actually.
But the ping was bad, and we know now.
But you got to remember, North American main players, their brains always lagging anyway. So it was like real time for Calde.
You cannot make fun of them. We cast them, we get paid by them. We can't break
You listen, you do.
Yeah, that's true. You haven't had a chance to cast in a while in terms for the LCA side. No, you're right. Honestly, main is one of those things. I just wish they would get out of main and into advanced finally again, back up there. That's something that has to happen sooner rather than later for CLG Red. Anyways, speaking of CLG Red, Group B, we mentioned them already. The first matchup, the opening matchup, will be Navi Javelins versus CLG Red and Furia versus 9Pandas Fearless. These are some hot matches.
Yeah. Match of the day, I think. If the group opening match is Group B, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the match of the day will be the winners match on Group B.
Yeah.
Honestly, I look at these and I look at this, I look at these matchups and I go, this is like, if you're Fury or CLG, these are the really good like warm-up matches you would have wanted, right? A team that's going to test you, they're going to push you, you're going to have to play some good game against them, but you're not going to need to be like forehead in the monitor like intensity kind of level where you're playing a Furia or you're playing a Enigma and you have to be like on every aspect of your game. Like, you know, it's a really good warm-up game. I'm not saying they're going to roll them, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it's, you would have wanted to play these teams first instead of, say, right out the gates, here's CLG versus Furia, right? And I think that's for both Furia and for CLG, because Furia do have the roster change. They do have to see how Bokur is going to play at LAN. It is her first LAN.
Yeah.
Outside
yeah, that's
of
right.
the Masters Feminina 5, which was the tournament before B41, that one was actually on LAN. They flew all the players in for that one. So, that was Bokur's with W7M at the time. So she does have land experience there, but this will be her first international land experience, and you're getting thrown into Katowice of all the places. So it's like, it's one of those things where there's a lot for her to take in. She's an excellent player. I think she will be able to do fine, but this is the measuring stick, like the first measure. Like, you would have wanted to play 9Pandas to get Bokur into the land and the environment and going, as opposed to just like, boom, here's CLG.
Yeah. It's the only thing when I come back to the opening matches is CLG Red would have rather faced Navi Javelins or 9Pandas Fearless, because you have to remember 9Pandas Fearless beat out Navi Javelins as No Fear 5 to get to the season 2 finals. So those two teams are very even, right? When he comes down to it, between those two, they're very even. So either way you're looking at this, you're having not, I wouldn't, calling it a warm-up match, I don't know about that. It's going to be a tough match regardless. But it's much better than being CLG Red and facing off against Furia, or Furia potentially facing off against the only other team I can think of is Enigma at this point. They're the second best team in the world. I don't know a matchup where they go in and they're like, you know, this is going to be extremely tough, except when it's Enigma, because they've just, when it comes to any other team, they seem to have a good edge on them to win.
That's a good question for you, Konii, but I want to also answer it at the same time. Like, would CLG rather play Nigma or 9Pandas first? I actually think you'd rather play Nigma. Or not Nigma, I'm sorry, Navi. Would you rather play Navi or 9Pandas? I actually think you want to play Navi. I think Navi are a better team than 9Pandas. I think they play better. I think Navi's going to put a lot of pressure on themselves at this land. They're playing in front of their home crowd.
Exactly, I was going to mention
This
that.
is a really big moment for them. And the last, look, I'm not saying they're chokers. This is a really good team. But the last time they had a really big moment was when they finished 6-0 in the groups. They had the playoff game, and they dropped the playoff game to the same 9Panda side, right? To go to the land in Sweden. So this team has done well. I mean, they won the IESF event. You know what I mean? Like, they've been to international land support. Yes, they're not the same scale, but they have the experience under them. But there's going to be a lot of pressure for them to perform in front of their home crowd at Katowice, the legendary status that it is. So I think if you're CLG, you're looking to exploit that versus a 9Pandas side that is almost in the same position as Saints, where they have no expectations coming into this, and they can just have a go at you. And 9Pandas in that scenario, I think, are very dangerous when they're willing to just absolutely take you on, pound for pound. So I think you'd rather play Navi here.
Yeah, I find that I've played against like Russian teams before, and they just have this kind of like passion and fearlessness in their game. and I think you would get that with Nine Pandas
The
Fearless actually.
effect.
Rush B. I don't know. They have a really unique playstyle, in my opinion. I did watch a little bit of like Vertigo when they played them against like Enigma Galaxy at Core Gamer Festival. They scored like I think 8 T rounds against them on Vertigo, but then they couldn't hold on CT, so they ended up losing like 16-8 to Enigma. But yeah, no, like the way they play, like their play style is I'm a bit of a fan, because it's very unique. It's not like anywhere else really how they play, for example. Na'Vi on the other hand, again the whole pressure thing. We don't want to say the word chokers, right? Because like online, but then
They're
on
not. I mean,
LAN,
they're a good
right?
team. I feel like you did do them a disservice by calling them that, right? Because they are a good team.
But yeah, I think they have the advantage of not having to travel as much, I hope, because like, it's within their home country as well, no jet lag. They're comfortable in the hometown. They're not eating like say different cultural foods, for example, or like, living in a hotel. They could I don't know if they live like, within Kato, but obviously not having to travel as far is also an advantage in my opinion, not having to worry about visas or how you're getting there, or the whole planning process of getting to the event. They could speak the local language, which is pretty easy if they need to get around. Not many worries there, right? But then the pressure of hometown, event, they need to perform well. So it can work with them or against them. How well can they handle the pressure is the question here. And I think that'll be the determining factor of how well they perform in Group B.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that we think about. I think about going back to Valencia with Big Akipa and Navi Javelins. Big Akipa
Oh, yeah.
actually won the opening match against
Mhm.
Navi Javelins, and then Navi did the
Yep.
whole lower bracket run, come back up, and they 2-0 double. Both those maps went to overtime, but they 2-0 Big
Damn.
Akipa, made it to the
Yeah.
playoffs to then face off against Furia, who then promptly 2-0'd them. So yeah, and that first map wasn't even close. It was Vertigo. It was 16-6. Fury just kind of did furious things.
Yeah.
I
Who
think
wins opening matches? There
yeah,
you go.
who wins opening matches really comes down to that. I think if you're CLG Red, facing off against Navi Javelins to start is the way to go as well. Versus that 9 Pen is like the home advantage thing is a thing, but it also that home pressure
Yep.
is something that
100%.
I 100% agree with you. I think that's going to be one of those things in the back of their minds of we want to play our best, and if things start to really not go their way, that can cause some more tilt because now you're starting to become desperate. You're losing out on some of the benefits of playing that carefree CS that 9 Pandas Fearless have essentially because they know they're good, but they don't really have that much pressure on them because like we were a free agent team. Now we're here, we're gaming. Who cares? We're having fun. Whereas Navi Javelins, it's we're at home. We need to show up, and if we don't show up, there might be some issues in the forefront. So I don't know. Coming out of this group, I still want to have that. I have that the NA Hopium. I want to say it's still going to be CLG Red and Furia, but if
Yeah.
I'm looking at this correctly, I'm thinking it's going to be Furia and 9 Pandas Fearless. And it's just going to be a low bracket run for 9 Pandas Fearless.
I don't know about that one, mate.
Ooh.
I'm gonna solely
You
disagree
disagree?
with you. I actually
Okay.
think
Let's hear your thoughts.
CLG and Furia are. This is my reasoning too, and it's really weird because in the previous episode I was like, Group B is going to be really good. I think Group A is the tougher group because you can't pick between B4 and HSG. I look at Group B and I go, CLG and Furia are coming in as the favorites here. I don't think 9 Pandas are favorites. I think they could get I can imagine. Here's the thing: the difference between Group B and Group A is Group B. You can think of any scenario as to any of these two teams coming, like any of the four teams, like any two of the four teams coming out of the group, right? I could totally do that thought experiment in my head and get to that conclusion. I can't do that in Group A with Saints, right? And I can't make a reason. I can't get to Enigma not making it out of the groups, right? But to me, I think Group A has this battle for second that is inseparable, and Group B, CLG and Furia are tier 1, and then Navi and 9 Pandas are tier 2 in this group, and that's the way I look at it. I look at it as CLG and Furia are a little bit of the favorites, and the other two are underdogs. They can definitely get out of the group. I could totally see another two I think Navi have a better chance to get out of the group than 9 Pandas. But I think, I think CLG and Furia, I think CLG's improved so much that there's a chance they win this group. I can even do a thought experiment where they win this group. I don't think that's going to happen, though. So for
No.
me, I think it's going to be Furia number 1, CLG number 2. I kind of took you all around the stadium there and had you run the bases. But I think in the end, Furia's number 1, CLG's number 2, Navi's number 3, and 9 Pandas finish number 4.
Wow.
I heavily disagree there. There is no results from CLG Red to prove they're the number 2 team in the group at all. Like, they didn't make it out of their groups in the last 2 international events.
Yes, but I think their performance in Maine this season shows that they are a complete, and I said this on the last episode too, they are a completely different beast. Like, that's my reasoning, is that the recent results, now that they're playing in North America together, they look completely different.
I mean, I think they had the same start they did in the last previous, I think, ESCA main seasons, right? I think they were like, what are they right now? 4-1?
They've been fairly
Last season they
consistent.
were like 1-5 to start.
Yeah, that is true. They had a
But that was when they had to play with their coach, though. So that's different.
Yes, I do agree to that point as well. In terms of rating CLG Red's appearances in Maine, they're a perennial playoff team when it comes to Maine. So while the results are always good, at the same time we also bashed NA Maine earlier in the episode, even saying that it's not a very good league. So the practice and the prep coming through is very good. I can't 100% take those results and go, look at how good they are. What I will say is they've had time to play together consistently, and that's the big thing that we can take away from, instead of just the lands where they kind of had to phone it in a little bit just because it was a new lineup, right? The previous in Valencia was, I believe, call me if I'm wrong here, Valencia was the last land they had as the old lineup.
Yeah.
So
that's correct.
We look at Jokkoping and we go, yes, this team did not have a lot of time together. There wasn't as much prep as they probably would have wanted. So I don't know. I look at what CLG Red has done, and I say it's good. I like it. They're still undefeated in NA. They're still really good in terms of a regional coming into an international team. Can they beat the European squads that have been constantly playing against? This is the whole thing that we have even on the men's/mixed team side. The NA teams, there's so few of them in the upper regions because the opportunity to go overseas and play these teams that play each other every single day, it's few and far between. And so while I do think CLG Red is a really good team, I wouldn't put them as a favorite to leave this, and we've said that they're an underdog. But that discounts, but saying, they're still going to be a team. Yeah, you. Don't look at me like that.
I said they're a favorite in the group. I didn't say they were underdog.
You said they were underdog, but you also said they were a tier 1 team, and that
I said I was an underdog in the last
situations.
episode, dog. You gotta change it up, man.
These two statements don't really make sense, and so I think an EU team, like I said, the Hopium side of me wants CLG Red to win. At the same time, 9 Pandas, Fearless, and Fury have had more time around these upper teams, such as Nigma, such as Big Akipa, such as the other EU teams that play Cash Cups consistently. NIP, for example, as well, who just won both Cash Cups. Like, they've had time around these teams to get better and keep a higher level. I think when you look at the reps that you get as that team versus the ones that CLG Red get, it's a different world.
I have a couple of questions for CLG Red, essentially, right? This is the land to prove themselves, right? They've had time with this roster as well to obviously build their team synergy, their strat book, their map pool as well. So my question is, how deep is their map pool? Because, again, the winners match and the losers match, for example, is best of 3, right? And on ESCA main, all I see them playing is Mirage and Overpass, right? Which is, again, those 2 maps are the most common pick maps, right? So we know they polished on those maps, for example, but how deep is your map pool? I don't know that from just looking at the ECA page.
How deep? You got it. You're right, though. You're absolutely right. That's a good point. I was begging them when the old lineup to stop playing Mirage because they would win on Inferno. They were 4-0 in main on Inferno, and then they would play Mirage and they were 2-3. And I'm like, guys, there's a message being, and then they would go to Impact and they would lose all the Mirage games to Fury, Enigma, and I'm like, y'all,
Guys,
There's a message being sent here. Please read it. Like, you know what I mean? Stop leaving the server on red. Like, but no, they actually. Here's the thing. They look a better Mirage team now than they did, and you got to remember they also have other results that would tell me that this team is improved. Like when they played in the Brazil qualifiers, or ESL Brazil or IEM Brazil qualifiers, I think.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
open quals, yeah.
Yeah.
They took an advanced team to 29 rounds, and that's a division above them, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
and for a lot of people might say, oh, it's one division, you know what I mean? Open and intermediate isn't that much different. Well, main and advanced is a completely different level. Like that, to be a good team in advanced in North America, you got to be pretty good. Like you got to be actually, you know what I mean? Like it's very tightly competitive. Sure, maybe it's not as EU, but you know, it is still very tightly competitive, and they're taking teams in that division to the full, like, you know, 29, 30 rounds. So to me, I look at it, and you're right. I agree. They have something to prove in this land, right? I don't think it's a make or break land for do or die land for them, right? Like this is the first season that they're here, all in North America together. Like they might not even hit their peak in this first land, right? You know what I mean? Like that's the point. They might get out of the groups, get smashed in the semis again. Okay, it's the same old CLG. When are we going to see something new? And it's like, okay, but if that's the performance that they have and that's the last result that they get, you still could build on that with this roster. Like, you know what I mean? That this roster certainly is going to need more time after this land. But I do look at it and think, uh, you know, I could see a world where they beat 9 Pandas, and I could see a world where they beat Navi, and that's all you got to do to get out of the group.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, I think it's exactly 6 months since they added the three, Bibian, Calde, and Mad. So apparently Liqui has them added on August the
Yeah.
12th.
It would have been
Liqui,
relatively.
that's what you got to
Yeah.
call it now.
Oh,
Liqui.
God.
Do you check Liqui? Do you check Liqui when you have your brekkie every day?
Oh, God.
Probably one of the top
holding
pages
your
to check,
techers in one
actually.
hand, and yeah.
Why would
Yeah,
you
for
just
sure.
randomly hold a Tekers in your house?
Why would you
Why
not?
would you do that?
I raise you another question. Alternately.
I definitely think this is the land where it kind of will determine if CLG is actually a top contending team. If they get out of groups, this is the one riding, like this event is the one riding
Yeah.
if they're actually a top team or a top contender, you know.
Versus a mid-table team. Yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely see that. I just wanted to say kind of a word on their map pool. I like saying that
Mhm.
you have your bread
Oh,
and
yeah.
butter,
You
but
might know more.
sometimes you have your bread and butter, but sometimes you really need to have some jam on top, and that's kind of what we're looking for. You
Damn.
need
Some
you
jammies?
need some Vegemite.
Pocket jam.
Yeah,
Vegemite.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so true, hey. We got Bibi on there.
She'll have it. No, but listen, we can only see so much of Mirage,
Mhm.
so much of Overpass,
Yeah.
so much of Inferno. These are the pug
Mhm.
maps. We've gone over this time and time
Yeah.
again in terms of looking
Mhm.
at map pools. Those that's the bread and butter, man. Those are the three that are most played that teams love, especially
Mhm.
in the Impact scene. Overpass is loved.
Yeah.
You need some ancient. You need some. I hate to say, you need some Anubis in there. You need to bring something new
Yeah.
that the teams aren't prepared for. Vertigo is another one of those
Yeah.
maps that teams kind of play.
They play Vertigo.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
it's one of those things, right? You have that you need to diversify. It's a portfolio here, to bring
Mhm.
in some financial terms to make Benny interested again. You have to you have to invest. Oh, he's turned his camera off.
No, sorry.
It's all good.
It, look, their map pool I think right now is going to be Mirage, Inferno, Overpass, which is, I mean, they play Overpass, right?
I'd put
They're not,
Vertigo in there as well.
yeah,
And Ancient, actually. I put the Ancient in there as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah.
they're not like drilled like they are on the Mirage as that they are on Ancient or Overpass.
Mhm.
But you can see the biggest problem, the biggest question for me is, and you make a really great point, Connie, about the map pool. You are right, but um, the Overpass needs to show some sort of improvement because they when they played Nigma on it at
Ooh,
the
yeah.
last land, they got absolutely hammered on it,
Yeah.
and like 23 was just tearing them apart with the information she was getting. She wasn't even getting the kills, but it was the
Yeah.
fact that Nigma were so free to roam the map on the CT
Yeah.
side that
Mhm.
CLG just couldn't do anything. They were just always a step behind because of the information that 23 was getting. I think the biggest thing for me is like shoring up that, and then also you probably just coming in with the Inferno. The Inferno is going to be their second pick. The issue with that going forward is with the removal of Dust 2, and we're seeing this a lot, and I say this about the
Oh, yeah,
Australian
yeah.
scene,
Mhm.
Connie, so please.
Oh,
But with the removal of Dust 2, the pug kind of map trio now is like Mirage, Inferno,
oh,
and your third is either Overpass or Vertigo.
overpass. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one of those two. And so you've kind of pigeonholed yourself into this map
Mhm.
pool that everybody plays and everybody's going to be willing to have a go at you on. And
That's a good point.
that's a disadvantage to CLG. Like they don't have a nuke that you could play. Like we saw the nuke, for example, in South Africa, and everyone thought, "Oh, look at this! White
Yeah.
Rabbit picked nuke against ATK," and it was a pick that they were able
And
to punish ATK
yeah.
on. Really, the CLG don't have that right now. So
Just another point to add on top of that, when you mentioned the removal of Dust 2, we know Enigma Galaxy don't really play on that map. So, and I know Vilga loves like the unique maps. I reckon
yeah,
she's played the crap out of like Anubis.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually don't think we're gonna see Anubis. I don't think anyone's really
Oh
plays
no,
it yet.
Enigma are gonna pocket
no,
pick it just
B4
to
played
piss people off.
Anubis actually.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They pulled it out versus Fury. That was their pocket pick. You're right. And we do know that Navi play it. They beat was it nine? I think it might have been 9 Pandas in the first qualifier to get here.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. I think the European teams are very open to playing Anubis, right? Whereas, I feel like in our region, like OCE and stuff, we're really slow to the change in the map pools. And like, no, like remember when they were swapping out maps in the previous couple of patches? Like it was just so hard trying to find a scrim on the new maps, for example.
I was
We were
wrong by the way.
so
They beat Big Akipa. My bad.
tied to like playing the old same vanilla maps, right?
It's a
Yeah,
problem here as well. Don't worry.
But I
Yeah,
don't
no.
think a lot of teams play Anubis nonetheless.
Yeah.
But I do think you're going to see like the other thing that works for Enigma. One thing is that everybody in Brazil played Dust 2. Like
Yeah,
Dust 2
exactly. I was gonna say it's a nerf for the Brazilian teams because they
Yeah,
were
so
so good on
huge.
Dust 2.
It was
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. That'd be interesting actually how the map pool plays out, especially in the best of threes with Dust 2 out and Anubis in. But we know B4 play Anubis, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
So
I don't know if HSG's added that one too though in their map pool. Because they also play Dust 2. HSG was also very strong on Dust 2, right?
Yeah. But I don't think
Um,
Anubis is in their map pool, is it? Because they have Ancient
Ooh.
and they have Vertigo to fall back on. Like they have other maps in there that'll help them.
Yeah,
But
they already had a strong map pool, like because they're a 2-year team.
yeah, and they have
Um,
Inferno as well, so they play three maps pretty strong. But are we? Please don't tell me we're just gonna get Mirage and Inferno the whole freaking land.
Mirage, Inferno, Overpass is
Mirage,
the
Inferno,
holy trinity
Overpass,
of the
damn
vanilla
you.
maps.
Everybody's gonna go. If I personally, if I'm,
It's gonna be season 1 OT.
if I'm like, I hate to kind of put them on this kind of thing, but if I'm Saints, first map I'm banning is Mirage, and I'm just saying, come at me, like let's have some fun. Let's let's get wild. Let's get rid of these pug maps. Like that's their most successful maps that they'd have an opportunity on. Let's have a little fun. I don't know if you've seen The Boys at all, but like season 3 when Homelander goes absolutely insane, he's like, let's light this candle. Like that would be me in a LAN. I'm not trustworthy at all. I just be like, let's throw out the strap. Let's have some fun. Like let's play Anubis. Who cares, right? Like let's just have a ball. Not the point at all, of course, but I don't know. I get the feeling like one of these teams just needs to say, we only play Anubis, Ancient, and Vertigo. You can only ban 2 of them at best.
That's gonna be
That's
HSG.
true.
That's gonna be
That's
HSG.
gonna be HSG,
Dude,
right there.
I would absolutely live for that. So okay, we've talked about the opening groups now. We have Nigma and who was the deciding vote between B4 and HSG, which would go through? Because there's 3 of us.
Because it's tied,
were the
right?
you were the
Benny's
decider.
like HSG and you were B4, right?
You're the decider on this, Connie. Which one's going through in our
This is so
hypothetical
tough.
semifinals?
I feel like HSG had a good showing, right?
Yeah.
In their last
Yeah.
international LAN, right? They made top 4, scored decent amount of rounds against Nigma in their opening game on Inferno. That's the thing though. Once you do well, you have a target on your back, right?
Yep.
When you do well. So we all know that the Brazilian teams are very prepared to anti-strat. So my question is, how well is HSG able to adapt to being anti-stratted, and vice versa for B4, right?
I have a point
And
to
Put a
this.
think-
prediction on that motherfucker. That's my first. That's I swear. Here's I swear. Come on, Connie.
How good are they in adapting, right, mid-game? And I know, like, we could credit, like, GFI as a really, like, solid in-game leader.
Mhm.
I think she really changed the way how, Asian CS was played,
Yeah.
completely. And, oh, this one's a tight one, but I am going to go with B4, and because I feel like the Brazilians play
up.
way more. And obviously they're in like they play in their own like FPL there. I'm pretty sure as well.
Listen,
And just overall,
HSG were so good.
Oh my god.
It triggered Kassad on this anti-EG train that he's now just the conductor of. Okay, that's how
wait,
good
really?
they
I didn't
were.
see that.
You haven't seen anything on Kassad versus EG?
Oh my god.
No, I've seen
Oh.
Kassad versus EG, but
Yeah.
the HSG
It's
thing.
because
Yeah, 'cause the first time he
HSG were the
commented was
reason that
on-
EG didn't won 13 rounds in 3 maps, because EG versus CLG Red went the way of CLG Red very handily, and then everybody was like, oh well, EG versus HSG will be really really close, and then HSG just kind of
not at all.
said, hi, we're here.
Yeah, no. I mean, anyone who's followed HSG knew that was going to be a whitewash. Like,
Yeah.
please.
Credit the North Americans, we don't watch
yeah.
anything else.
B4, because I think they're more hungry this land, because I feel like they probably knew they underperformed a bit like in their last one, but that was their first land, so I think they'll be more prepared this time around, and they're more ready to take on the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, Paranoid Park's here for a second.
Mhm.
We know that Brazilian teams love to prep.
Mhm.
What if HSG just played on Perfect World and there are no demos available?
Giga
Like,
brain.
like huge brain.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that, but
The thing is, they have a whole season 2 land of demos to go after,
Yeah.
right? Like HSG are going to come at you pretty much the same way. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think there's enough there for them to look at, but
I don't think the Earth is flat, but just on the off chance.
no, but I'm saying, like, honestly, seriously, like I don't think HSG's playstyle from season 2 is going to change
No,
that much.
no.
I would say like Black Dragon season 1, which was this B4 team, and now because
Totally
it's been a
different.
whole year,
Totally
like
different.
it's completely different. Especially now they had a
That's
roster change to pick up Poppins. To me the X factor is Poppins. Like if she performs under the pressure, I think really B4 could go very far at this land, potentially even make a grand final. But if if the nerves get in the way, then HSG I could see sneaking through
Yeah,
the group.
no.
That's all I'm saying.
That's one thing as well. If you guys remember HSG versus CLG Red on Overpass,
Yes.
like HSG was in control until I say this, Mads got that 1v3 spray down on the post plant. And
Yeah.
that's when their mental went down into the dumps, and it just spiraled out of control there, and they dropped the ball on Overpass, but obviously they closed out on map 3. So that's one factor as well. That could be, as long as they hold their mental together, I think they're a unit, a force to be like reckoned with. But B4, I think individually, across the board individually, I think they're better. I think I haven't seen too much, but based on knowing how well the scene is developed over there,
Yeah.
I think they're individually like better players, but I can't say if they're like better as a team. I can't really distinguish. It was so hard to pick between the two, right?
Yeah.
Let me
it's
just
one
put
of
up
those.
another factor, right?
Yeah.
GFI tweeted more Negev strats, right? So that's
Ooh.
one
Yes.
of the counter Benny's little point about that. I'm keen to see more Negev.
Yeah, I'm keen to see different
Benny's
maps.
lost it.
Johnny's seen
because
the
every
Negev.
time someone says GFI and Negev, I just think of that clip from North America where the player just shot her own
Yes.
player to death with it, and then I
mean, I
wound
was-
up choking on it. Oh, it was just
so
hilarious.
good.
It was so funny.
That clip
And I'm
is
like,
so good.
GFI's known for the Negev. Like she's actually decent with it. Here I am.
Yeah.
The way that I remember her is some failed North American play. Like it's just so unfair.
I want to
her.
find that clip now. I really
It's
do.
great. It's absolutely
Oh,
great.
It's so good. Okay, so we've got B4 and Enigma Galaxy going through on the Group
Yep.
A side. Group B side, we've got Furia and
CLG.
Yep. Who did you pick, Pox? I can't remember. I think
I
it was,
picked
was it
9.
Pandas?
I have 9 pandas. Yeah, I said 9 pandas.
And Benny picked
CLG.
CLG Red and Furia. And it's
Yep.
just me again, eh?
If you want to
Yeah.
say Navi, we can just have a 3-way tie and say any of the 3 are
Nah,
replaced.
no way.
Nah.
3-way tie. We all can agree on Furia going through. Like,
Yes.
I
Oh,
definitely
yes.
pick Furia to go
Yes.
through. Between the three, again, I said this was the group of death.
Yeah.
And we had some questions for CLG Red, obviously, not performing in the previous one, and they had 6 months to prepare. We love 9 Pandas, their playstyle, Navi Javelins, hometown pressure, question mark. Is that going to be good for them or bad for them? We don't know. We've seen them drop the ball previously, missing out on LAN, like Impact LAN.
They missed
previously as
Jokapin.
well. Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to repeat itself, right? So I'm going to go with the dark horse because I've always picked 9 Pandas Fearless as a dark horse, which I did last International LAN. And they did make it out of groups, right? So I'm going to pick 9 Pandas Fearless and Furia.
So much hate right now.
That's
You.
not hate.
It's not
I'm just
hate.
a
It's
fan
just
of
your
how they
takes are
play.
bad.
I'm about to turn this lamp off and be like, "Come to the docks."
Turn it off.
Benny, you need some more jam in your life.
I do not need Vegemite in my life.
No, I need some more
no.
Vegemite.
No,
Some more Vegemite.
absolutely not.
All right, so
Absolutely not.
putting it that way, then we would have Enigma Galaxy going up against 9 Pandas Fearless, and then we would have Furia going up against B4, which, in its own way, is like its own file because of Masters Femenina. I'm gonna say we're gonna have Enigma going through on the one semifinal. I think we could all agree on that just because of their pedigree. And
Nah.
Nah.
I know, yeah.
Those upstarts from 9 Pandas Fearless, they're gonna keep going. I think that's where their run ends.
Yeah,
So it would be
100%,
Enigma in
yeah.
the finals, and then the choice kind of becomes again Furia versus B4.
Ooh, this is the great
And
rematch.
this is a great rematch.
On LAN.
Yeah.
As well, actually. This one's could be spicy. I actually like that. I like that. I can't wait for that semi.
We're writing the script right now. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if you
100%
saw, like, the NFL was the NFL has all been script. It's all script on the script.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
there,
that.
there goes our monetization.
Monetization. We lost it last time, anyways. It's okay. No, and then no. So B4 and Furia is really good. I don't know how to rate Furia just because of that Bokor coming in.
Yeah,
I love
when was she
Bokor.
added?
Very recently.
She was added in January last month.
Oh,
14th.
less than
14th.
1 month.
So Mari is going to W7M, and
Yeah.
Bokor has gone to Furia.
Yeah, 1 month with a new player, but
I love Bokor. I think she's got potential. She's 18, young player, good rifler. I think the first land's going to be a little too much, but I think
she's played on LAN before, right?
Has she?
Bokor,
She doesn't have much of a
Masters Femenina 5 is W7M.
But just not like an international LAN, right?
Yeah.
But I think once you've played on LAN, once you know what you're doing, I think you just focus on your game, and you got teammates to support you there and kind of,
I don't know.
You know, run through it.
I don't know.
Well, that's a good question to put up there. Like, Bokor, like, how is she going to perform for her first international LAN?
It is like the question for both Brazilian teams. How's Poppins going to do it? Her first LAN.
Yep.
An international LAN. Period.
This is her first one. She was too young when the season 1 LAN came around.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Yeah, she was 15, and you have to be 16 for the Impact League. So she played at like the Gamers Club events, but she couldn't play at the ESL events. So the question is, this is
Connie's mind is broken after
first
that.
LAN. Yeah, this is Poppin's first LAN, and it's an international one. I get what you're saying, Connie. I'm not disagreeing, but I think there is a difference between going to a LAN in Brazil and flying to Katowice halfway across the world and playing all the other regions. Like they're
20+ hours. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I actually do think that we are going to get B4 versus Enigma in the final. That's my prediction, is that B4 will beat Furia in the semis, and it will be I'll pick it with my heart again. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be
B4
over Enigma. B4 over Furia, and they play Enigma, and Enigma will win the final. But I still think it's going to be.
How many overtimes?
I mean, that's based on the bracket you guys gave me. If HSG get through, I think it's going to be. I think we got another Furia Enigma final, like hands down. But
Ooh.
but if B4 get through, I think B4 make it to the grand final.
I'm
Okay.
in agreement, and the only reason I'm in agreement is not because of Poppins. It's actually because of the rest of B4. So Poppins is a lot like Bokur, is that untested talent. I think B4 lean on Junger and Goddess among Julie and Nani. I think they lean on those two to put them forward here versus Furia, who it's so hard because you got Olga. Olga is always bringing it. Olga will always bring it.
Well.
Never top. I think she was the top rated. She was the top rated player beside Anna and Anna and
always at the top of the stats.
Was it Vilga or was it 23 that was?
Vilga was third on the HLTV awards, but the Female CS.com award, Olga was number 1.
Yes.
So
yes, and then I look at Gabi and Ka, and I'm like, okay, these are also very good players. So I don't know. I think
Gabi's really solid.
I think I look at this and I go, B4 have done it once. There's always a chance for them to do it again. Doing it at a big LAN with Poppins really going off might be the decider here, especially because that recent change on Furia's side with Bokur coming in. We don't know. She's an unknown quantity at this point. We have no idea what's going to happen. And that semifinal can be where the cracks really start to show. I think it's going to be 3 maps for sure. Like, regardless of what happens, I think it's a 3-map series. And either of them could win. But in this case, I'm going to side with Benny. I'm going to say B4 probably do win, just on the fact they've had a longer time together as a squad.
Yeah, no, we know that Poppin's been talked about a lot, right? Like, there's articles on her saying she's the next big thing.
Well,
plenty of like.
I was going to say, before you begin, remember, she was also the MVP of Gamers Club Masters.
Oh, for the final? Damn.
Yeah. No, she was the MVP of the whole tournament. So.
Oh, really? I thought it was just the final.
I'm pretty sure it was the whole tournament.
Wow.
MVP of the whole tournament. So.
Yeah, no, like when you read all these articles on social media and then people because people share that article with you and stuff, it's like I still remember my first time doing Gfinity. It was a whole Reddit thread on me, on the CS:GO Reddit, and when I was going in to play that morning at LAN, it's like everyone's like, "Did you see this article? Did you see this article?" It literally psyched me out. Like, it was just so much pressure to perform because it's like there's a whole Reddit thread on you with like I don't know how many upvotes it was, but it was on top somewhere. But I don't know how she's going to handle that pressure as well, right? The external pressures of living up to the expectation of being the next best thing. To come out of like Brazilian CS. So that's one point to remember. Like again, we were talking about this is her first LAN. I didn't realize it was the first LAN. I thought she played the previous one, but clearly not. And first, I don't know. Do you guys remember your first LAN experience? Because my one was terrible.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh like that.
CRT
my first LAN experience was
ball mice.
It was ball mice. It wasn't laser. It was I actually didn't. I used I had a trackball mouse. I used a trackball mouse.
Oh God.
So, Parks, do you have your first LAN experience? Because I'm trying to remember.
So I've never actually played at a LAN. I've been to 2, kind of. I went to LAN ETS last year, and I watched a bit of the CS stuff. I watched I sat behind Athena and watched her play the Valorant tournament, and they got shafted by the bracket because they were like one of the top rated teams, and they still got shoved into the lower one, so they were there until like I want to say 8 o'clock, just playing. And I didn't know anybody else there, and everybody else was speaking French, so I just sat behind Athena the entire time, like on my phone watching the hockey game or watching her play. I did not understand enough about Valorant to really appreciate how good of a player she was. But there was a lot of people crowded around, so that was pretty cool. And then I watched the finals with the French teams, and that was fun. And then we had the failed LAN in Toronto that Ping and I went to cast, and so we were there really early. And a few hours in, there was like the servers kept crashing. There was no support. The guy who was supposed to help run the entire thing didn't show up until like 2 o'clock, which is like 3 hours after the event was
Didn't you
supposed to
say
start.
the PC couldn't handle the stream
The
either?
PC
streaming
could not
PC?
handle the stream and the servers. So the server, the PCs that were running the servers kept crashing because they weren't meant for it. So yeah, it was a shit show. Landing TS was really cool because I got to see a bunch of stuff, but I didn't really understand most of it because it was all in Quebec, so it was all French. I didn't really, and they were all speaking French. There was very few of us there that were just English speaking. Everybody there was pretty much either French or English because it was Montreal. So I haven't had a big experience level. I think Dallas is probably going to be the first one I'm going to say I went to a LAN, because it's a convention, but it's also got the huge LAN portion of it. So, I don't have any big stories other than I went to watch people play and I sat behind Athena for most of the night the first time around.
My first LAN was 20 years ago this summer was my first LAN. It was 2003. It was Unreal Tournament. So
Wow.
I got
Damn.
smashed at that LAN. Like, I
It was
absolutely
a fun though.
I got hammered at that LAN. Not drunk hammered, okay? I'm not gonna say because I was a minor, but like I meant like I won my first game
No.
and it was like a really close
Yeah.
it's a double elimination bracket, right? There wasn't groups or pools. There were so many players. It was just straight double elim bracket.
Yeah.
And it was a local tournament. It was like 60 of us, and we were playing for $50. And but this is 2003, so
Yeah,
there
that's
wasn't
huge, man.
money
That
back
big,
then
50
like that.
bucks, yeah.
But I remember winning my first game like 15-14. It was first to 15 frags. And it was like I won like 15-14, and I drew my friend who I went to high school with who also played the game, and he smoked me. I lost like 15-8 the first game, and then the second game I think I won the second game, but like on a nail biter. Like
Yeah.
it went to sudden death because the time had actually expired because you got 15 frags or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I won like 14-13, and he was so angry and he just crushed me like 15-2 in the second game. So that was my first and then I went to the lower bracket and got absolutely handled in the lower bracket. I thought I lost like 15-1, 15-1. It was like terrible. But it was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I actually went and grinded the game after that because I had just picked it up. My mother hated violent video games, so when she saw the cover of Unreal Tournament, and she's like, "It looks violent," and I'm like, "No, it's a sports game," because you know how like they tried to brand it as like that sportsy shooter, like you know what I mean. And she's like, "Okay, I'll pick it up for you." Then she picked it up and watched me play it, and she was mortified. And I was like,
Yeah.
"This is
headshot.
amazing!"
Double kill.
Oh, so man, that was probably the biggest disappointment to her. But anyway, yeah, no, like first lands are always tough. But the difference between a story like that was that I had only been playing Unreal Tournament for like 3 months. Like Poppins has been playing CS for a while, and she has such good polish, right, for a player who is so young. And to have already had a major tournament MVP where they pull an upset against Fury is a big achievement. I don't think she's going to be able to top that here.
No.
I think it'll really kind of expose her inexperience on land in an international environment. But, this is still a player with a lot of promise. And I do think you're going to see at least what B4 saw in her and picking her up and that potential here.
So that gets us to the final then. So B4 versus Nigma. Actually, wait. Oh, Connie, you didn't say who yours was yet. We got to come back to you. What was your LAN experience? We need your first LAN experience, and we need your semi-final pick.
Like CSGO? My first CSGO LAN
Whatever
experience was
tournament.
terrible.
Whatever tournament.
Let's just go with CSGO because we'll just try to stay on topic.
Yeah.
So it was a women's league in Australia. We used to have this league called WPGI.
Okay.
And I was with my first team, I think Ravens.
Yeah.
And we qualified to go to the Gold Coast
Right.
for LAN, which is LAN finals, so top 4 teams. Actually, we had 8 teams back then playing that league, actually. So the top 4 teams went to LAN. And yeah, we had a lot of tech issues, unfortunately, at the LAN center. So there was a lot of sitting around. This audio setup wasn't the best. I was sitting right next to the
It's
speaker.
on the Licky
and
as
I
well.
Is
On the
it?
Licky. Yeah.
I don't think the first one was.
I'm
I think
searching up
the
Connie's
following
name
ones
now.
are actually, but yeah, no, it was bad because like I was playing on 6040 because I didn't have the right config set up as well done, and then there was moments in a game where at LAN it's like you overthink and then you make the wrong decision. Like like online, for example, at your home, you know you'd be making the right decision, right? Like the right play. But then in LAN, you're overthinking and you make like really bad, like, small mistakes, which will, lose you the round. And yeah, I mean, that LAN had so many tech issues that we ended up having to finish one round. We stopped at, I think I can't remember, but like we couldn't finish the game right before the end of the night, so we had to pause the game, fly back home, finish that one round online. Yeah, and we lost the game. And
Oh,
that's it. Yeah.
that's horrible.
I just had a look at ESL Impact League finals. So Poppers did play in league finals season 2.
Yeah, but not in season 1 when
Yeah,
Black
but not in
Dragons
season
went.
1.
Yeah,
And they didn't make
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
land in season 2.
yeah.
So it's not her first time. So I think she's gonna pop off there, like even harder, honestly, for this upcoming event, because she's done it first LAN already, like international LAN,
No, they didn't make it to that
and
LAN. That was MIBR that made it, not B4.
season 2 finals.
I'm more just shocked that
Was it before?
these teams are still.
Nah,
It
I'm tripping.
was season
you-
4. They lost to season 2 finals. They lost to 9 Pandas, so they didn't make it out of groups.
Were there wasn't 3 Brazilian teams. I'm not losing my mind that much.
No, it was Furia and B4.
Furia and
For
B4.
season 2. That's the one. The
Oh,
one where
my mind
Goblin-
hurts now. Oh,
Yeah,
my mind
no.
hurts.
So Poppins has had her first LAN, so I think she's gonna go
Oh,
Oh
off in this one.
yeah, you're
There you
right.
go.
Oh yeah.
That's my bold prediction for.
Oh,
So we
oh
were
my
right.
God.
We just
We're gonna
we
have
got
to
it all
re-record
wrong.
the episode.
We're
run
not
it back.
re-recording. We are not running it back. We are at an
I was,
hour
like, I was
already.
so confused when you guys said this is our first
You're right.
international
You're
LAN.
right.
Oh,
I didn't
man.
say it. He
No,
did.
I'm sorry.
He did.
Benny. That's
Listen,
alright.
I
We'll
have
forgive you.
an uncanny ability to hype up players that don't play.
Yes, you do. That was the funniest
But
thing
she did
I've
play.
I know.
Oh.
That's
That's the
the
irony
joke.
of it.
So actually, we need to add some context to this. I think so. Last night we had the Cash Cup, the NA finals, and so I was producing, and then we had Snicky and Benny casting, and
Yeah.
he was hyping up Pinecone, who is one of the female players on U-Turn, which is another team that's popped up. He hyped her
Yeah.
up for like a good few minutes before the match actually plays. We get into the first map, and she's not there because she was
she's not
subbed out.
playing that night.
She's the sub of U-Turn. She's not one of the players.
Oh,
So
not a full player. I thought maybe they were playing with a sub and he couldn't play.
no,
No.
She usually what happens is they'll run like a U-Turn specifically. They run a six female roster, and then they
Okay.
sub in depending on availability. So Pinecone is
Yeah.
the 6th woman at this point, I think, is how they've worked it out. But
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
fair.
Well,
it was really funny because one of the players messaged him afterwards, and you hype up for hyping up a player that isn't even there. It was so good.
it's okay. Her presence on the roster was enough.
It was enough. Okay, so that gives us the finals of Nigma versus B4. I think
Mhm.
we're all in agreement that Nigma win. I don't think it goes more than 2 maps, to be honest. I think Nigma do dominate that. Even with how B4 beat Furia, I think Nigma just kind of close it out and say, listen, we're the better team here. We're just gonna go home. Like we're pack your bags. We're getting out of here kind of thing. That leaves Katowice as a whole kind of predicted and done. And that also leaves us at about an hour, which is usually how long these episodes go. I know this is supposed to be a special episode. Getting 2 in a week is insane considering that we've recorded them in the same night, except for the wardrobe change, which I thought was hilarious. Benny and I.
Why are you giving away our secrets?
We
man?
finished.
Why are you
We
giving them
finished
away,
recording
bro?
the episode, and listen. If they've made it this far, they deserve to know. No, we finished the last
That's
episode,
fair.
and we
That's
both
fair.
got up. We're like, wardrobe change. So, Connie, because we do have a few minutes here, I guess we can talk a little bit about Australian CS, and I mean, you and Bones have
yeah.
done a lot for that scene. I mean, we've seen
Nah.
consistently 3 and 4 teams now popping up for the Cash Cups. When it looked like there weren't going to be any. I know Asia had a few that were canceled. I believe Oceania did as well early on after Mindfreak kind of died.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Is there any
I
kind
think
of
credit has to go to Bones and Kimbab. I'm merely just part of the community and trying to basically get visibility on their community Discord and stuff. But the people who've been doing the bulk of the work are definitely Bones and Kimbab behind the scenes to run this community and try to keep it positive and get more players involved, essentially.
Is there a chance we can make you Australia's second export?
Second export. I don't know.
Which NA
Might
team
need
do
a
you
lot
want
of
to play
money.
for? Yeah.
Yeah,
EG.
no. Ooh, I don't know. There's not an NA team I want to play for though.
You don't want to play for EG?
I think EG Gold would
Ooh.
last.
Yeah,
I don't want to get memed by Kassad. Come on, Parks. I don't want to get memed. I think EG's been tainted that way, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, they were fine. I think the director of performance just, I don't know. Had to just, I don't know, just that one win against Heroic. It's like,
Oh, buddy.
show us consistency. Like, show us it wasn't a fluke, basically, right?
Yeah. That tweet was so good. It is
It's like
outlasted.
I actually have an NFL comparison to that, and that's odd because I don't like American football. But it's like the 1 year when the Lions won like their only game of the season the last week of the year, and all the players
Yeah.
stormed the field to celebrate. They were like, "Yeah, we want to go!" Like, dude, you guys are 1-15.
Oh.
What the hell is wrong with y'all? So, oh god.
Yeah, I'm pretty much retired. I've only played a couple of cash cups these past 2 weeks, but nothing
Okay.
more than that.
Yeah.
Is there any chance we can make Viscos Australia's
Oh my
second?
God.
Because she's been
Stop going down the
insanely
list,
good.
Benny.
You have to,
Yeah.
tear her away from Apex though, because she's doing really well in that game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make a note of that and praise her every single time she's on the stream, and then she'll never leave because she'll miss us.
Can we
That's-
just continue
no.
going down the list? What about Eminent?
No,
now?
we're not
Just-
doing
just-
Goodness.
I'm just teasing.
Going down the list.
Yeah, he's got a list. He has a list for every single region that he just kind of like. We're gonna do an interview with a Brazilian team, and he's gonna be like, "So when can we export you to NA to play for EG Gold? Because we
Look,
need
you're
a
already
player."
getting exported to Portugal
Yeah, they
and
are.
Spain. Okay,
Yosi
to be
playing
fair.
over. Yosi playing over there. Yeah, that's I don't know what to say anymore. I think this has run its course. Konii, thank you so much for being on with us. Any special shout outs to anybody? The floor is yours. She's frozen and died, I think.
Yeah, I don't know actually. No, thank you for you guys for having me on, honestly. It was very fun discussing Kato, which is coming up. I actually purposely took work off to go hopefully watch some games. I don't know. My old age be like, watch the first map and then pass out on the second.
Yeah.
The games are in the
Wait, what time is it
early
for you?
morning, I think.
Yeah,
I
they'll
think
be early morning.
the games
for
start
you.
like at 10 a.m., don't they?
They'll
Well,
be.
it's 10 a.m. Central European time. So what time is that for you?
Add like
That's
7
like
hours? 8 hours?
No, yes. 10 a.m. Central is like 8 a.m. over here.
Really?
Wait, no, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Sorry, other way around.
It's not too bad. You
8
could get
p.m.
you could probably get the first half of the day in.
First series, and then I think the second series I end up passing out by map 2, I think. Unfortunately.
You just gotta hope that they speedrun it a little bit.
Oh, speedrun.
Yeah,
16 and 0.
Yeah.
EG Gold aren't playing, so that's not going to be possible, unfortunately.
Now we're
You
getting
gotta throw them under the
demonetized.
bus again.
Now we're getting demonetized.
Everyone's piling on EG Gold. Or
Piling
EG
on
in
EG
general,
as
eh?
an organization.
Yeah,
I have
for
yet to.
sure.
There's actually an hour-long special that Thorin made. It's a podcast episode that I'm gonna listen into eventually, because some of the stuff, the exposés he does, are actually pretty good when it comes to those things, because he does talk to the industry people behind it, versus like us, where we're looking and going, they got 13 rounds and 3 maps. That's kind of bad. Like, that's the best we can do, unfortunately. And the tweets. But no, thank you so much, Konii, for being on. Really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate Benny for reaching out to you. He is also a rock star when it comes to scheduling people, because I'm super shy and I don't like talking to people.
Oh, that's honestly same, but I love talking with you guys today.
Yeah.
It was great.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's where we end this special episode. There's no special outro, unfortunately. I'm too lazy for that. So I hope.
But
Oh,
we'll be back after Katowice with the post-tournament special as well.
are
Ooh.
you
Or at least post-tournament recap.
are you producing that? Because
At
I
least a
ain't
post-tournament
ain't
recap.
producing
At
that,
least a
Benny.
post-tournament recap, okay?
Oh,
Because there's
God.
not going to be cash cups. We do have the qualifiers coming up right
Okay.
after the Katowice. So next episode after this will be probably Katowice.
Yeah, be Katowice and qualifiers probably.
and the qualifiers, yeah, for season 3. Look forward to it.
And maybe we'll have another interview if we can find somebody off the
Yeah.
street That isn't a hobo.
Off the streets.
Yeah.
I heard Viscos is retired. Hit her up. I'll just say that. Sorry.
Who's next on the list, Benny? You had a list, right?
Yeah.
Who else?
All right. It is too late in the night for me to be doing this anymore. I think we need to go before Benny and I. Benny, it's like 9:10 for him. He needs to go to sleep. He's got to wake up. Oh, God. All right.
Yeah. No.
Early days tomorrow for both of us. Anyways, thank you everybody so much for listening in. Again, thank you to Konii, thank you to Benny, thank you to LCA for letting us run this. I hope you enjoy your Katowice tournament watching. I know there's various streams everywhere that are going to be having this. So long from us at Brace for Impact. Have a good one.